If you had to choose just one artist that you could only listen to for the rest of your life,
Oh
forsaking all others, who would it be?
no. One?
One. All right, I'll give you three.
Don't stick your hand in any hot water. I got cook's fingers. I'm used to this kind of stuff, okay? Use a spoon.
Hi, David. Thank you so much for joining.
You're most welcome.
It was such a pleasure to meet you in person yesterday and have lunch with you and just to talk about the book. It was such a pleasure. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It was a real joy for me too. I got so much out of just hearing someone else read my
Yeah.
poetry.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just wanted to thank you so much for choosing Street Angels Books to publish this amazing piece of work. I mean, I absolutely love the poems. I love the stories. I love the photographs. I find the whole piece just as a whole so fulfilling to my soul, actually, which is
Good.
kind of good. It works well with, soul food and, the Momma Cherri
Yes,
channel because it's
absolutely,
about
absolutely.
feeding your soul in different ways. So thank you for that.
You're
So-
welcome. Thank you.
Was it your intention to make these pieces of work into a book, or how did that happen for you?
Well, I mean, the poems were written in 2007 when I lived in Los Angeles, and they were really like more of personal expression. I mean, I probably thought on some level at some point I would do something with them, but it wasn't like a priority to me. And I didn't really think, oh, I've got to get this book out, blah, blah, blah. It was kind of like, oh, maybe one day I'll just put the poems out.
Yeah.
But there was no like timetable for it. And so, when Ray Shell, who I've known for many, many decades, came to me and said, do you have anything that I could put on my company, on my publishing company, Street Angels Books? I said, well, initially I said no because I couldn't think of anything.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, actually, there are these. I can't really explain to you where the idea came from for me to even show him the poems. I don't know.
Yeah.
It came wherever things come from. It wasn't pre-planned. And I thought, oh, okay, poems, yeah. All right. And so then I took him some of the poems and showed him, I remember giving him to him a brown envelope. Manila envelope, and he, looked at a couple of them when we were meeting, and then he, came back to me and said, "These are great. You should do it. Let's do it. Let's do a book. Let's do a book of poetry." And there are actually about, I don't actually know the exact number, but there's a few more from that time period. And then we said, well, let's make it. He said, let's do 33. I said, well, I don't think I have 33. But definitely do 22, and so that's what happened.
Fantastic.
But I wasn't really. I was quite surprised at how it all came together. I mean, it wasn't like something I've been thinking about for years. Oh, let me put out the ebook. So it really came out. It was really kind of like a natural, organic experience of having the having the poems come out in this book form. Yeah.
So can I ask why you chose the title why you chose that particular poem, like the first time you heard Chaka Khan, to be the title of the collection of poetry?
Actually, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't? Was that a publishing company's decision?
That was the brainchild of the publisher. So I originally was going to call it A Collection of Soulful Poetry, which is
that's the subtitle now, isn't it?
Yeah, and which is not very. It's not very. It doesn't have any particular thing to it. I mean, it is what that does describe what it is, but I didn't really have any thought about what it should be called. And when Ray looked at the poems and you were talking, he said,
Sorry, excuse me, David.
Yeah.
Elle, I'm on a meeting. I'll have to call you back. Goodbye. I love you. Bye. Sorry, my daughter.
will you be able to edit that out, or should we start?
I can edit that out. If you want to,
Okay.
if we'll start again and just give me.
Yeah, and so I didn't. I just had a title of a collection of soulful poetry, and I did. In fact, when I first, kind of copywrote the poems, they were under soul poetry. They weren't even soulful poetry.
Yeah.
And then, when he was looking at the poems, he said, "Well, we should call the book Like the First Time You Heard Chaka Khan." And initially, I was a little bit, reluctant or skeptical because I didn't want to focus on one particular poem, and also I had a concern that people would think, "Oh, this whole book's going to be about Chaka Khan," and so on. And then I thought, well, if this is going to reach beyond the immediate people I know, then it will have to have some title that draws people in. And so I was okay. That's all right. And then we had that photograph of she and I together, which was a very informal photograph. And so it kind of all came together like that. And I wasn't, so it wasn't really pre-planned, so to speak. But I'm fine with it now. Totally fine with it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's funny because the title for me, that poem it speaks to me anyway. I love it because the first time I heard Chaka Khan, it was like, whoa, who is this powerhouse? What is this voice that I'm hearing? And I think that title kind of encapsulates the feeling of all of the poetry and stories that you tell. So for me, it's the perfect title.
Actually, he wanted to use a different phrase from that poem, like the first time you heard Chaka Khan. But I said to him, well, it doesn't really, yes, I understand why you want to use it, but it doesn't really communicate that particular phrase you wanted to use. It doesn't really communicate what the point of the poem is. It's about how did this voice affect people, and so that's where it came from. And all, by the way, just to let you know that really is, the way the poem evolved itself really is an experience for people of how it was for me. And the funniest part of it, which I am going to call my friend Jeff, who at the end of the poem, I'm not going to give too much away, but in the end of the poem, we talk about that. He and I were I remember this so vividly. When I lived in LA, and Jeff lived there too, and we'd been friends for quite a long time. And he was very, he's been a Chaka Khan, like rally. Yeah, he's like the best singer in the world, blah, 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 blah. And we had, and the actual conversation we had, I may be telling too much on this, but I will anyway. We were having a conversation about how she was such an influential singer for a whole generation of people. And I said, yeah, that's true, Jeff, that is true. I said, but before Chaka, there was Aretha, because they're different generations.
Yes.
They were 10 years, they're over 10 years apart in age. So of course, that's a different generation. I said, well, yes, I know, but before there was Chaka, there was Aretha, who probably influenced Chaka and a lot of others. And we were having this, the only time in all the time he and I have known each other, that he actually swore at me because, in the I'm not going to give that part away because in the poem, he says something. He said, I said, well, yeah, but Jeff, and we weren't having we were just having a really heated conversation about it. And then he said what he said, which you have to read the poem to find out what he said.
Like the first time you heard Chaka Khan, October 3rd, 2007. Sometime out of time or space. Inspired by watching Chaka turn it out at an American online taping on October the 2nd, 2007, a world away from today. Like when you heard Chaka Khan for the first time, like my good friend Michael said, like, who's that? Whoever's thrilling you is killing me before she was telling something good, which for her seemed forever. Same song, different night, different peeps, same song, sing it, girl, over and over. enough to earn her an Oscar for doing it since 74, when the Wonder gave her a gift or a curse. Could you eat the same food every day for 47 years? Like when you heard Chaka Khan for the first time, a Mother Earth voice, a soul cry for freedom from the shackles and chains of youth interrupted by the confines and constraints of elders, knowing no better than to pass on what had been passed on to them. Like, man, when you heard Chaka Khan for the first time, your mind was blown, period. It was beyond a siren's wail, pure fire from a place most folks fear, abandoned yet so real, the deepness of a tender heart bruised when your first love said no to you and you couldn't understand why. Like when you heard Chaka Khan for the first time, your world was turned upside down, ancient of days, back from Egyptian queendom or priestesshood or both. Like when you heard Chaka Khan for the first time, like multiple orgasms, men have them too. Ask me how I know. Through the fire, a fire that could light you up or burn you out in Hollywood or wherever. Yes, I really did wait at bus stops in Hollywood, 1975, 1976, and in the 80s and 90s. Hollywood, burnt out in a business of bending battles, manoeuvring schemes. Like she said when Rufus was one, fire fusion of race and colour, when average white bands were colourblind and radio played it like crossover. What? Urban Sherburn. It was music, man, and Chaka and Rufus was killing, not softly with a song, but with the hard funk, the groove to end all grooves. Whoever's thrilling you is killing me with the sweet thing, everlasting love. Like when you heard Chaka Khan for the first time, you are welcome to stop on by just because we're neighbours, just because we're friends, just because before instant messages and shit, it was truly eye to eye, like she said, 1984. Please pardon me, you don't remind me, you are a friend. And that's soul talking, like she said another time when Chaka was going through it. Sometimes unsure if she would come through the inferno that a real artist knows, like Nina knew real art expressed like Miles knew. Like Chaka knows, always knew and never understood, being born out of time, kind of like me, out of time, skin vanilla, soul so old it wears me out, sometimes. Echoes of an era, Egypt, like the time I played Chaka Khan in Egypt for real. A funky little cassette tape standing in the ruins at Luxor, Egyptian song, Claire Fisher strings melting into 3,000 years of tears. The spell broken by the temptation of sex amongst statues. Are you married? He asked, a prelude to his declaration that although he himself married, he acted like he liked men too, and I noticed his Egyptian robes barely disguising his intentions. I declined his offer, right there among the palatial remains of a civilization. There are some times when holy is way beyond ejaculation and ensuing regret. Like when you heard Chaka Khan for the first time, you never got over it. And, like my best friend Jeff said, when we were talking Aretha and Chaka, and he said, "Fuck you, David, Chaka is the shit." Like my best friend Michael said, the first time he heard Chaka Khan, like, who's that? Knowing you like I know you and knowing your career and how, expansive your career has been and the people that you've interviewed and have had, have not just colleague relationships, but with, you can call them actual friendships. Reading the work, it almost feels like I'm peeking into a world that I would never have had access into. Do you know what I mean? So the way that you weave the names and the titles of songs into the work, and I can hear those accents of the songs as I'm reading, and it's like I'm watching you have that interaction that you had with Chaka Khan, or having that interaction that you have with Aretha Franklin, and it's just so fascinating. And I just think that I think people that when they read this book, they're going to have a similar kind of feel, almost like privileged, like, oh my goodness, it's almost like you're telling stories without giving anything away. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're not, laying people, these fantastic artists and legends. You're not laying their, I'm going to swear here, their shit bare. But there is a kind of just a little essence and a hint of what that felt like being in their presence. And that's so special, I think, for me anyway.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, speaking of reading the poem, I'd like to read one of my favourite poems now, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
And it's, for me, I just love Would You Have Made Aretha Wait?
Sure.
This just really spoke to me. And I just want to say before I read this to anyone that's watching, so the poems and the poetry, it's not like a traditional poetry book. It's almost like essays, spoken word type poetry, and their stories interwoven into the manuscript, because David is a well-known and renowned music journalist, and he has interviewed, I mean, just some of the most influential and important people in music, and especially soul music. And so those stories are woven through. And so this particular poem just really spoke to me because, it's called Would You Have Made Aretha Wait? Okay.
Sure.
Would You Have Made Aretha Wait? October 5th, 2007, 4:31 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. After lunch with a Mr. K, a cooking diva who was solid and loves to tell it all and is sincere and real, and that ain't easy when you've got to deal with doo-doo of the finest order all the time. Would you have made Aretha wait? Or Dionne? Or Diana? Or Roberta? Or Patty? Or Gladys? Or Shaka? Or Oprah? No, especially not Oprah. Well, why are you making me wait, man? Like I'm something less than. Like the divas get some special dispensation that means don't be late for them. Like having talent, like singing, like being gifted has some divine right. Not. Look, I love all of them. Love their art, love their gift, love their talent. But we've all got skills. We all got talent. We are all children of God. Like, being gifted is just that. Gifted. Not given some divine right to be treated any differently than your neighbour, your mother, your best friend, the checkout girl, the mailman, the trash collector. Trash man didn't get my trash today. People make the world go round. No, don't make me wait too long. I deserve the same respect I give you. Like my dear friend Archbishop Carl Bean, rest in peace, once preached, when you see someone in the street asking for some change, don't ask what they're going to do with it. It's none of your business. Remember, you don't know what Jesus looks like. That was heavy. Because I don't, nor do you. Gave a woman $20 once, just because. Just because I wanted to and didn't believe in lack or limitation. And I knew I was just giving because I didn't know what Jesus or Buddha or Muhammad or Moses might look like if they came back in human form. And nor do you. Every one of them could be here in any kind of disguise. Now, Mr. K was late. But he's a kind guy. The kind who says, I'm really sorry, not like some gospel duo back in the day walked in 30 minutes late for an interview and didn't say nothing to me, like a sometimey $2,000 for me. Like someone else I know who is on the phone. How are you, I say. He replies. I pause, waiting like a foolish fool for him to ask me, and how are you? And he says nothing, so I'm forced to say how I am, like he really gives a damn, because in his world, all there is he. Like most self-centered peeps. But payback is a dog, and every star that rises falls, and sometimes to rise again, and sometimes not. Karma, baby, karma. Mr. K, man, he's all right with me. I watch him order his food so precisely. I say, wow, you are a diva. He laughs. I'm a cooking diva. I know how I like my food. And we talk of many fools and kings, because I'm a nature boy or natural man, but mostly fools and queens. Keeping it real. But, Mr. K, would you have made Aretha wait? Oh no. A queen of soul is always and will be a queen. Or a queen. So don't make me wait, man. I deserve your highest respect, like I'm going to give you mine. Always and forever. Just love it. I just love that poem so much.
Yeah, and as you pointed out, Katrina, these poems are actually based on real experience. So that actually happened. That's not a made up. That wasn't something I just fictionalized. I mean, this person is a colleague of mine, and he was visiting Los Angeles and lived there, and I was sitting in this restaurant, and I'm not sure if this was before mobile phones or not. No, I don't remember. I think it was before mobile phones. But anyway, I was sitting there waiting, and I thought, well, what do I do? At some point, if he's not going to show up, I'll just leave. And fortunately, it wasn't too far from where I lived.
Yeah.
which was good. And I didn't leave, but then he walked in, and it really is exactly how it happened. And it did, and it wasn't, that I expected someone to treat me any differently, but I thought that, it is something to do with how people relate to each other.
Yeah.
And I really did mean that. I mean, I know, having met most of the women except Oprah. I have met Oprah, but I wasn't at a meeting with her.
Yeah.
But there's a certain kind of respect that seems to come with people who are, considered personalities or, well known. But I think that same respect should be accorded to everyone.
Yeah,
it's not just
absolutely.
about because some, So it's all that poem, and what I'm saying really is that poem is really based in actually something that really, really happened.
But you
I agree with that. The other thing, I'll say one other thing about that. There are a couple of lines in that poem that are just really important to me because they really speak to the whole idea of that someone, because of the way the media and the way we've grown up, we've put people on pedestals and made them look, oh, so and so amazing, but the fact is that we're all amazing and we all have different skills and talents. And I don't think that it's okay to think that because someone gets on a stage or gets in a recording studio that they're any more gifted than someone who paints or someone who, any whatever skill you have. And so that is really authentically how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be disrespectful to anyone. Well, I can't say I've never been late, and I can't say I've never been considered being disrespectful to anyone. But I certainly wouldn't say. I say the way I approach things is the way I would want other people to approach me.
Yeah. Can I just ask you one last question before we wrap this up?
Sure.
What do you want readers to leave with once they've read this work? What is that? If there's a particular feeling that you're wanting to emote, or is there something that you kind of wish to kind of, I don't know, for people to kind of leave with having read it?
Well, that's an interesting question, actually. I think that what I want them to, for people who know me or know of me in the world of music, I want them to know more about who I am as a human being. I'm not just a music journalist. I'm not just a whatever. This is a human being that for whom music, and in particular soul music, has really been like, it isn't just like something I listen to and, oh, that's nice, and so hit notes. No, it's really a part of the fabric of my life. And I want people to what I want them to get is how this music it can make such a difference in people's lives in terms of being a place that you can find joy, solace, inspiration, that, and all of those different emotions and experiences are really what soul music has been for me. It's like as lived. So I want people to walk away from the book or read the book and then say, this music is vibrant. It's alive. It's real, and this is how it can affect someone's life. The other thing I want to say, and this is important for me to say this one other thing, is that I guess on some level, I could say I could have picked some other kind of genre of music, maybe. But one of the things that I think I became very aware of early on in my life was that partly I'd say to do with Nina Simone and my being associated with her and running her appreciation society in Britain, is how a lot of times African American Black music artists, however you want to use the term, were not given the kind of respect or appreciation or, kind of in the wider context of society, were not always given their props, as we say. And I can't, without going into a very deep conversation, which we're not going to do right now, only because it would be a very long conversation, I just felt some kind of sense of it's not an obligation, but like that's, I'm here to uplift.
Yeah.
And uplift in as much as share with people the great kind of creators of this music that really has is maybe finally is getting a bit more respect, and its creators are getting that. But really to say that the music that from which this comes, like gospel, blues, jazz, that's at the very heart of contemporary music.
Yeah.
I mean, apart from classical music,
Yeah.
it has informed all American music, I would say, and certainly most other kinds of music. If you think about, everything from dance music to jazz to smooth jazz to blues
to rock and roll, even
to rock and exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There would be no rock and roll.
Well, there'd be no Elvis Presley. There'd be no lots of people actually.
And gospel, and so I just felt from an early age that I wanted really to share with people about the original music or the makers of this original music that was making a difference for me, even though I was born in a different culture at a different time and so on. And I guess that's really what people to know is, soul music isn't called soul music by accident.
Yeah.
And it is the music of the soul, for the soul. Yeah. And I'm a living testament to the impact it's had on the life I've led.
Okay. One more. If you had to choose just one artist that you could only listen to for the rest of your life, forsaking all others, who would it be?
One?
All right, I'll give you three.
Well, that's easier.
Okay.
That's easier. Well, definitely. And probably I would go to what I call my DNA, which is, I didn't realize this till sometime recently, that the three women who really affected me most in my teenage years and then beyond are Dionne, as in Warwick or Warwick, depending on which country you're in, Nina, Simone, and Aretha Franklin. And why it's kind of interesting is that it was Dionne who did an interview in 1964, first mentioned Nina Simone. That's the first time I ever saw Nina Simone's name. So I wonder who she is.
Yeah.
I originally thought she was French, but obviously she wasn't. And then, and so Dionne led me to finding out about Nina. And then Nina, when I became when I started her British Appreciation Society in 1965, at the airport, the first time I met her, said to me, amongst other things, have you heard of Aretha Franklin?
Wow.
So D led to N, led to A. And
Fantastic.
I thought, wow, that is kind of
DNA.
cosmic.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's actually true. Like they one led to the other, led to the other. And so I think that, if thank you for giving me three, it would be Dionne.
Yeah, as soon as I said what I thought, no, I'm not being fair.
Yeah.
David, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure and an absolute honour. And I look forward to meeting up with you again and having many, many more chats over some amazing food.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Absolutely. The food, absolutely. Spot on, I mean, as much as music is important for the soul, so is food.
Absolutely.
Nourishing the soul too.